G'day lads, let's talk about Twilight. Very manly topic for us all. But seriously, this is going to make sense in just one moment. What's the story of Twilight? Because this is something that got me really interested. Things are popular for certain reasons, obviously. There are certain things which all of us as a collective, or large sects of us as a collective, are drawn towards. And Twilight is one of these. It's like, what the hell is the story of Twilight? Why are all these girls getting into this? This is the story of Twilight. A girl, by sheer virtue of her existing, literally nothing else, no achievements, no accolades, no moral endeavours, surely her existence causes the most attractive man in the world, who has a lot of resources, he's the most powerful man out of all of them, to naturally do away with his monstrous life and become partly domesticated and belong to her. That's the story of Twilight. It's like, that's a popular story for a reason. It's actually a play-off of Beauty and the Beast. And Beauty and the Beast is the female hero myth, which basically is trying to find a man and tame him so that you create romance that way and therefore propagate your genes down the line. It's an evolutionary tale, but for women, it's obviously for men, you've got to try and find a woman, and women, you've got to try and find a man, so it's got to be the high-value man, and it just so happens to be the case that the highest-value men are also partly monsters. So Twilight basically is a pseudo, more immature version, because the girl in Twilight, she gets the man by pure virtue of her existence. It's not based on her beauty, it's not based on her moral character, it's based on nothing of actual worth, it's just her as an individual. Me! Right? It's quite narcissistic, and that's why it's popular with young people, because there's no sense of achievement in that person. You get whatever you deserve purely by your existence. So that's kind of cool. But it's easy for us guys to laugh off Twilight as just being nonsense 13-year-old girl fantasy, right? But there is another side to that. What's the fantasy of porn? The exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. What are you doing when you're watching porn? I mean, you may be into some weird things as well when you're watching porn, but let's take across what's most common. You as a man, by pure virtue of your existence as a man with access to a phone or a computer, is able to access a whole bunch of girls who will do anything they want to you purely by the virtue of you being you. It's narcissistic as hell. It's the exact same thing as Twilight. It's an immature version of the masculine-feminine dynamic. Because the male hero myth, of course, is you have to go out into the world and by virtue of your moral character, get a real high-quality female. And high-quality females, the emphasis on looks is higher when it comes to men looking at women than it does for women looking at men. That's just an evolutionary fact. That's the male hero myth, and the female hero myth, of course, is the same, but trying to find a man. These are immature versions because there's no personal development involved. Begs the question, what's the mature version of that? What's the mature relationship between the masculine and the feminine? This is where we start getting interesting. This is which people do not like to talk about because it enters into fluffy religious mythological territory. I don't care, because this is important. We're going to tackle this. Throughout all of religious traditions, throughout Christianity, throughout Islam, even throughout like Royal England, throughout ancient Greece, there's this idea of the divine feminine. The idea of the feminine, or some feminine individuals, but as an energy, just feminine, being a goddess. Now, I have to put a disclaimer here before you call me a white knight. I'm not saying princess. I'm saying goddess. So a goddess, of course, is something divine, something transcendent, whereas a princess would be, and I'm sure any princesses watching this will admit, that because you're a princess and you're so wonderful, this person has to give me everything. It's the Twilight dynamic once again, right? But there's an idea that some women, or there is an essence to the feminine that's holy. It's transcendent, it is divine. And what they conceptualize this as in, say, ancient Greece, but also in ancient Rome, and throughout some Christian poets such as Dante, they called this thing the Muse. And the Muse is a goddess that specifically inspires within you poetry and songs and things like that. So you could say that the highest possible conceptualization of the feminine is this muse idea. The divine feminine that inspires action and inspires words and inspires, most particularly, a particular mode of being from you. Now that's a really interesting idea. We've now moved beyond the sexual plane of masculine and feminine and up into a call to action plane through a particular mode of being of the feminine, inspiring that in a man. Now, of course, this is actually reflected in the hero myths themselves, because unless you have the immature one, like I just talked about, that the man, I keep going out of focus, look at this, that the man has to have a good moral character to get the woman, he deserves it, and vice versa for the female. Now, it got me thinking about English history. Just go for a little walk with me. We're going to take a little walk around the back streets. English history has this character called Elizabeth I in it. And Elizabeth I was the daughter of Henry VIII, obviously this tyrant English king. I do not like him one little bit. We've all heard of him and his 6 wives. We have this daughter Elizabeth who ruled England for something approximating 50 years, can't remember specifically. But she had a mythology that was wrapped up around her. This is really cool. This mythology of the Virgin Queen, that her husband was England itself. Now, there may have been reasons why she did this. For example, well, there are many reasons why she might have done that, including her death and her not being a legitimate heir to the throne. Regardless, she had this myth of the Virgin Queen. And what was really, really interesting about this is there was a book written for her called The Fairy Queen, which was this big epic poetry about England and her being this fairy queen. And what all the poets around the time, Shakespeare, for example, whoever Shakespeare may have been. Was it William Shakespeare? I do not know. I've been into the Shakespeare authorship question quite a lot lately. But you take this idea that these poets were all inspired by the Queen. You know, you could say, well, maybe they only dedicated their poetry because they wanted to survive and get in good favour. It's like, no. All the earls and high-class poets were in the upper classes anyway. They didn't get extra favours by serenading the Queen. They may have avoided dying, but no, there was something special about this Virgin Queen that inspired within them a call to create beautiful poetry. So there may be a case to be made that Shakespeare would not have existed, or at least the works that he created, if it wasn't for Elizabeth I, this divine Virgin Queen that ruled over the realm with that mythology. Where are you going with this, James? What the hell are you talking about? I've been watching you for the last 7 minutes. Yeah, I can see the track. 7 minutes. What are you talking about? There's something sacred there about this divine muse, this divine feminine. Porn has killed that. Porn has murdered it. What porn has done is taken the divine feminine and gone completely shattered it on the floor. It's no longer the divine feminine. It's now just the sexualized feminine. It's no longer the brilliant, divine, transcendent feminine. It's now, these people are just walking parts who live to serve me. And the whole purpose of male-female interactions is purely to get your nut off, or something like that. There is no divine feminine anymore. And if you try and mention anything like this, you're dismissed immediately as a white knight. Now, white knights deserve all the crap that they get at them, sure. But it's an interesting area of inquiry. When you look at husband and wives who are very much in love, and you pay attention to the words that the husband says to the wife in a sincere manner, a lot of it is like, you have my heart. You know, my heart belongs to you. It's like, what the hell does all this stuff mean? It's like, you've given yourself over to this person, but at the same time, because it's a successful marriage, the man hasn't bent the knee to the woman. Otherwise, she wouldn't still be with him. So what does this mean? It means that there's something transcendent about the position of the feminine within that man's life. Why does he go off to work every day? Is it to earn money? Yes. What for? Exactly. Provide for his wife and family. There's something special and transcendent that porn destroys. Because if you're constantly engaging in pornography, then you can't see the divine element anymore. It's masked by some kind of false god. It's almost like some black anti-version of the divine feminine. It's like, no, I'm going to sap your life energy out of you piece by piece. And where this divine feminine used to be, here I am. Some demented conglomeration of 50,000 porn stars together, letting out this perverted cry, which are meant to sound sexy, but it's not, because it's everything all at once, with all of their inner turmoils together. And most of those porn stars, by the way, are dead. This is a well-known fact. Most of them are dead, or have died or killed themselves because of the industry. Where's the divine feminine in that? Where's the Elizabeth I in that, inspiring you to go out into the world and be the best man you can be and produce great works and leave a mark on history 500 years later? Where's the Beatrice that's going to save you from your sin? You're wandering around in your horrendous life, not knowing where to go. But Beatrice comes and is your guiding light forward out of that pain. Where is it? Or is it purely that you are cynical about women because you read something on a subreddit? All of our history and tradition It's cross-cultural. We'll take the West. All of our history and tradition has had the chivalric woman, we'll say. A woman who you have to deserve her love through acting in a proper manner. And then you get control. Not get control. You get this girl. But she's still transcendent up there. You don't bend the knee to her, but you give your heart to her. It's this relationship which is attached to each other, and it's not only good for you in terms of, solving sexual access or passing on your genes, but it actually elevates you and your soul to a higher plane. I'm being deadly, deadly serious about that, where pornography stops that in its tracks. So next time you're engaging in pornography, remember not only that you are engaging in the immature, weak male fantasy. It's a fake hero myth where you don't have to do anything, you just get the girl given to you by pure virtue of you being a wonderful person. But at the same time, you're taking the sacred divine feminine, which has always existed, and you are shattering it on the floor. Thank you, people. I hope you enjoyed that message. I hope that came across and you learned something from it. If you wish to support the work that I'm doing here or get in contact with me, just to chat with me all the time. We'll do some voice chat together. Link will be in the description to a Discord down below. I run it with Stefan Fox, Uber Boyo. We run a Discord server as our main thing that we offer in there. You get to come in and hang out with us. Have some good crack, as the Uber Boyo would say. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day.